Welcome back. Today we're going to be building a little gate to my back deck. It's going to be right at the front right here. I would have liked it at the top of the stairs, but my door is there. So if I were to have screwed anything into it, it goes into the trim of the door. So it just didn't seem like the best idea. If your deck has the sides where there's a 4x4 like here and here, and then your deck is longer, I'd honestly would want to put it up right at top here. That'll make it easier for you. So today I'm just going to show you what we need. Alright, so you need your gate hinges, a latch. These are just decking screws so they don't rust out. I'm going to be going into some concrete right here. So I'm going to need some Tapcons and then the concrete drill bit. This is just a speed square to make sure everything's nice and straight. And then just whatever drill you have, and then a tape measure. So for mine, I already have the 4x4 here that I can use for the hinge or the latch side, but I need something on this side. So I'm going to get, since the siding overlaps just a little bit, I have some like 1 inch by 4 inch wide board. We're going to put here, and then I'll do a 2x4 in front of it, and then we'll just get the height the same here. So let's just grab tape measure, see how much we need, and go from there. So my 1x is going to touch the ground, and it's just going to go up 28 inches, and that'll fit it right under the siding. And then our 2x4, I want it right at the bottom of my handle here, so right at close to 35 inches. So I need a 35 inch 2x4, and then the 28 inch 1x4. So let's go cut those and then get that installed. Alright, so we're back with the 28 inch 1x4 that was treated, and then the 2x4 that was treated. And so with the Tapcons, we're going to end up drilling through. It'll stick out enough and go into the concrete for the grab. And then the bit just all depends how big your Tapcons are. This bit's just slightly smaller, so when I pre-drill the holes into the concrete, it'll be enough for the bit to grab onto. So let's get started. So first, I want to measure, because I want it pretty straight with this. For about 2.5 inches. So I want this one also about 2.5. So we'll drill into this, get everything ready, and then screw it all together. Alright, so I got one started, just so I can make sure we're nice and straight, plumb. So I know we are, so we'll go ahead and drill the rest of them and tighten everything up. And then we'll attach the 2x4 to this as well. Alright, so I got these two bottom end. I've pre-drilled through the 2x4 and the 1x into the concrete. So we'll line these up, screw these in. Maybe put some 2-inch screws just to hold this bottom in. And this other 2 screws up here, just to make sure nothing moves, is going to go through the siding. So we'll just use the same screws straight through. Alright, so I got my 4 Tapcons in. I got 2 on the 1x. Then I sunk the other 2 through the 1x and the 2x4. And then I was just putting some 2-inch decking screws, and then I'll put the 3-inch ones right in here through the siding. And then we can start measuring out for the gate. Alright, so now we just need to know how wide our gate's going to be and how tall it is. So height wise, I'm going to have it off the ground, off the step, for 3.5 inches. So this is 35 inches tall, so you're minus 3.5. So that'll put the gate at about, the 2x4 I'll need is about 31.5. So it'll be around up here. And then that'll give it some space so it won't drag. So we need 31.5. And then it's about 43 from left to right. We probably want to lose about 1 inch on that, just so there's enough clearance so we don't rub when the door opens and closes. So 42. So we need 2 that are 42 inches and 2 that are 31.5. And I'm going to cut them at a 45-degree angle, which I'll show you, where everything screws together. Alright, so I have a miter saw tabletop that makes it easier to cut the 45-degree angles. But if you don't, that's where your speed square will come in handy, because this is a 45-degree angle as well. So these two are going to be for the sides because they're 31.5. But we need to cut it at a 45 so it all fits together. So essentially we need 31.5 from here to this corner. So since this is a 45-degree, you'll grab it up, hook it since it has this lip, hook it right here, get to the very edge, and then you'll get a pencil, and then you'll cut this side off if all you have maybe is like a circular saw. So you'll be able to just cut that line straight ahead, and you'll be doing that on all of them. All right, so I'll show you once with the circular saw. So we already marked it as close as possible to get that 45. And then so I cut this straight. We're actually going to rotate the speed square to get our circular saw pretty close to where it needs to be so it can follow the line and cut it easier. There you go. And that's pretty darn close. I'm just gonna do the rest on the miter saw because it's a little bit easier, and we'll come back. Now if we measure point to point, right there at that 31.5 we needed. So I'll do the rest now. All right, so we're on to the last cut. All right, so we got all 4 pieces we needed. So we're gonna do an assembly on my little bench here, and then we'll go test fit. And then we'll also be putting a diagonal brace in, but let's just make sure we cut everything right first. All right, so I got 4 pieces laid out. Everything came pretty close to where it needed to be. I have these little clamps that'll help hold the corners together so we can put some screws through it. So I have some 3-inch, so I'll have to kind of make them work because it's a little short. Maybe some 4-inch would be nice for closer in, but we'll end up putting a screw on each corner. It should sink in just enough to grab it. And then you want your speed square, so you can kind of set that down in and make sure everything's pretty straight. So let's get these screws in and then go make sure we measured everything right and test fit it.
There's one. This one has to sink in just a little bit more.
There we go. There's 2. I'm gonna do all corners. Alrighty, so I got all my screws in each corner, and I put in 2 on each side. Sometimes I had to angle it because it would hit the other screw. But now we're going to test fit, just make sure it's not too wide or anything like that over where we're going to put it. So let's jump right over there. Alright, so now we're back. We got a little bit of clearance on both sides, so we know nothing will hit. And then my perfect height was actually just a 2x4, so 3.5 inches off, so it's not dragging. So now we need to install a diagonal brace so this doesn't sag, and then we'll come back, get it all mounted up, and then it'll be up to you for filling in the gaps. So you can either get some of the pickets and then just screw them on it and do about the 3 to 4 inch spacing. I'm going to use a piece of panel plywood that'll go across it. So let's go back to the garage and show you the next step. Alright, now we're back and we need to do our diagonal support so the gate doesn't sag. So you're going to be getting another piece of 2x4 and whatever side you want your hinges on, the left or the right. In my case, I'm going to do hinges on the right. So you want the board to mount on the bottom of the hinges to the top corner. Instead of doing any measuring, you can just go ahead and place the board right under the gate. So hinges are going to be on this side. So we're going to want to cut this one here, and it's going to support on the top up here. And if your hinges were on this side, it'd be the same thing. It'd be screwed in right on this side. It'd mount on the top corner over there. So let's get these two cut. All right, so we got our piece cut. Fits in there nice and snug. So then we're just going to put a few screws in to hold it in place. So I got all my screws in. I'm going to be putting my hinges on this side, so we're all set on that. I'm going to be getting my plywood paneling to put over top, and then we'll take it back over, mount it all up on the hinges, and put the latch on it. And then if you're going to be using the pickets, you're going to want to get your tape measure, and you're just going to want to measure a few inches. So it's 3.5. So you probably go another 3.5, and you'll put your hinge, one of the pickets here, and then you'd mark that, and then go another 3.5, and you keep going to see how many you need, because it all depends how wide your gate is. Let me go get my paneling and get that put on. Alright, so I got my plywood paneling on. I'm going to end up staining it a little later, because it isn't pressure treated, but all the wood we used was pressure treated. So I'm going to stain it and put a sealer on it. And then I got the two hinges hooked up, here and here, just on the side I was going to use, and then I have my little 2x4 to set the gate on, and then I was going to screw on the hinges, and then we can do the latch after. But it's all up to you. You can either do the pickets like your deck right here across if you want to keep the same style, or especially if you're doing the gate up high on the top step, it might look a little nicer, kind of all uniform. But I had this, and we wanted it to be fully blocked off so nobody's head or feet or anything gets stuck in it. So let's set this on top of the 2x4 and get the hinges mounted the rest of the way up. So the hinges I mounted were the 2x4s. We're doing right at the cross, so all these screws will go into the 2x4, and then these are just mounted into it where I did it to the concrete. So let's get these 10 screws in. Alright, so we got the top one on. We're gonna move back down to the bottom, and then you might have to tweak it a little bit to get your gap straight. So, another screw on this. Alright, so we got our hinges on, so now we can move over to the latch. And it just comes with a few more screws. And then the bar. So since we're having it swing outwards, we'll want to put the bar on this side so it can go, and then the latch will be on this side. We'll get the latch side screwed on first, then we'll do the bar. Alright, so the latch came out good. Now let's go ahead and get our bar mounted up. This might take a moment. I just want it to overhang just a little bit, just so when it catches it, and you can just get a marker and mark it, or hold it in place and screw it in. Alright, so we got one in, so give us a little tweaking room. I think that'll do. Get this other one in. There we are, we got a gate for the deck. And if you want it to like stay open, you can always get one of the latches that'll hold to the side here. And this worked great. Alright, well I hope that helped anybody trying to do their gate on a deck, and see you on the next one.